Moon is the 10th map in Call of Duty Zombies. The events of the map take place on October 13th, 2025 at a top secret research base located on the moon. This moon base was known as Griffin Station. But before we talk about all of that, to fully understand where we are at in the zombie storyline, we have to revisit the beginning of the zombie story. In the early 1930s, an unknown element was discovered near Breslau, Germany. A brilliant German scientist is sent to investigate. He would go on to make the most important discovery of the modern age, a discovery that would alter the zombies universe forever. This scientist was Dr. Ludwig Maxis. He had just discovered element 115. Realizing the power and potential of this new element, Maxis forms a secret organization dedicated to the study of the element. Group 935 was born. In the beginning, the intentions of the group were noble, an international group dedicated to the study of element 115. They wanted to improve the human condition. Members of Group 935 pledged to remove themselves from the ongoing political entanglements. The researchers of Group 935 would work in secret, away from the watchful eyes of governments who would seek to weaponize element 115. Dr. Maxis recruits a fellow German scientist named Edward Richthofen to join Group 935. Edward agrees to join, but is secretly a member of the Illuminati and acts as a secret agent inside Group 935. Doctors Maxis and Richthofen study the mysterious element for many years together. They begin working on the teleportation prototype they called the Matter Transference Device, MTD for short. Together, they are able to get the device to an almost functional state. The MTD is able to teleport a person from one place to another. However, the person becomes catatonic and is changed at a cellular level. Using element 115, they are able to bring the functionally dead test subjects back to life, creating the first zombies in the Call of Duty Zombies storyline. At first, the zombies obey basic commands, but soon they become rabid and must be put down. Dr. Maxis seeks to further the goals of Group 935 but lacks the money to do so. He makes a deal with the German High Command to build a zombie army for Germany. In return, Group 935 would be funded by Germany from that point on. This does not sit well with Richthofen. He fears that many scientists will leave Group 935 if Germany is involved. The Second World War had just begun, and some of the scientists came from countries that were opposed to Germany in the war. Richthofen is angry at Maxis for involving Germany in Group 935, but their friendship completely breaks when Richthofen learns that Maxis refused to mass-produce Richthofen's wonder weapon, the Wunderwaffe DG2. Richthofen vows to get revenge on Maxis. With the help of another scientist named Dr. Schuster, Richthofen begins working behind the back of Maxis on the teleportation project. The two are able to finish the teleporter and move on to human experimentation. Edward volunteers himself as the very first test subject. Richthofen steps inside the teleporter and activates the device. In an instant, Richthofen finds himself inside a sealed chamber on the moon. Inside this chamber, Richthofen discovers something he terms the Moon Pyramid Device, or MPD for short, not to be confused with the MTD. This pyramid is made of ether and is capable of absolute power in the zombies universe. Richthofen inspects the device and receives an electric shock. Following the shock, Richthofen begins hearing evil voices inside his head, including the voice of the Shadow Man. These voices fill Richthofen's mind with the thoughts of reaching a place called Agartha. Richthofen becomes obsessed with the device and is slowly driven mad. The MPD teleports Richthofen to Shangri-La, where he is worshipped by the locals as a god. It is here that he encounters something called the Focusing Stone. Richthofen begins a month-long journey home. Dr. Schuster is shocked to see Richthofen. He thought that the test had failed and Richthofen was no more. Richthofen begins to set in motion his dastardly plan. Richthofen and Schuster use the teleporter to begin transporting supplies and personnel to the moon. They begin building the secret moon base, Griffin Station. Richthofen returns to Earth to continue his charade with Maxis. Dr. Schuster, along with another researcher named Dr. Groff, are left in charge of Griffin Station. These two are responsible for finishing Griffin Station and discovering how to open the Ether Pyramid. Over the next 5 or so years, Richthofen works alongside Maxis. Richthofen continues to live a double life, pretending to be Maxis's friend while secretly planning to overthrow him. Richthofen hid the fact that he had finalized the teleporter. Maxis knew nothing of Richthofen's travels to the moon. The two work on the teleporter together. Richthofen never mentions the fact that he had already finished the teleporter. Richthofen was simply biding his time, waiting for word from the moonbase. Finally, after years of waiting, Richthofen receives word that the moonbase is complete, and the secret of the MPD has been discovered. While exterminating a rat near the MPD, Drs. Schuster and Groff realize that the MPD requires life energy to open. With this disturbing discovery, Richthofen sends many soldiers and scientists to be used as fuel for the pyramid. With these extra souls included, the MPD opens itself to the outside world. Richthofen finally, at long last, receives word that the MPD is open and awaiting him. It is time for his grand scheme. During a teleporter test trial, Maxis uses his daughter's dog Fluffy as a test subject. The test is a failure and Fluffy returns changed and dangerous. Samantha witnesses this and rushes into the teleporter to check on her dog. Maxis fears Fluffy is dangerous and chases after Samantha. Richtofen seizes on this opportunity and seals Maxis, Samantha, and Fluffy inside the teleporter. Edward activates the device, bidding farewell to Dr. Maxis. Samantha is transported to the moon. She is chased by Dr. Schuster and Groff. Samantha hides near the MPD but is drawn inside. The device closes around her. Fully inside the pyramid, Samantha is corrupted by the dark ether, and now controlling the MPD becomes the one in control of the zombies. Dr. Maxis is transported to a place known as the Crazy Place. Not much is known about this place, but while here, Maxis gains the power to merge with electricity. Richtofen triumphantly returns to the moon, only to find that Samantha has entered the pyramid before him, completely ruining his plan. Harnessing the power of the MPD, Richtofen brings Maxis to Griffin Station. Richtofen hopes that when Samantha hears the voice of her father, she will leave the MPD so that he can finally enter the device and reach Agartha. As Samantha leaves the pyramid, Maxis instructs her to get revenge on those who had betrayed him. Samantha unleashes a zombie horde on Griffin Station. Richtofen and Schuster survive the outbreak and make it back to Earth. Richtofen goes on to wake the 3 test subjects, Dempsey, Nikolai, and Takio. They go on the journey to retrieve Richtofen's diary from Shinonuma. After reading his diary, Richtofen devises a new plan to take control of the MPD. He takes his crew on a quest to retrieve the Golden Rod from Call of the Dead and the Focusing Stone from Shangri-La. After finding both of the required items, Richtofen is ready to teleport back to the moon base. As they are attempting to teleport away from Shangri-La to the moon, Dempsey fires the shrink ray at an oncoming zombie. This overloads the teleporter and sends the crew tumbling through space and time. They arrive at the United States Pentagon in the year 1963. The events of the Black Ops 4 map Classified explain what happened and how we get from Shangri-La in 1956 to the moon and Area 51 in 2025. To understand the story of Moon, we have to consider Classified. Shortly following the disappearance of Maxis, Group 935 was disbanded. Dr. Schuster was part of the United States program called Operation Stapler. This was a top-secret operation to bring Group 935 scientists to the United States following the end of World War II. Dr. Schuster ends up at the Pentagon and works here for many years. He becomes vital to the Pentagon's efforts to be the first nation to reach the moon and claim Griffin Station. Dr. Schuster warns that the teleporter is not calibrated correctly and has the potential to create temporal rifts through space-time. Schuster is correct, and the men who volunteer to test out the teleporter are sent to the moon in the future. As Richtofen and the crew arrive in 1963, they are followed by a horde of zombies sent by Samantha. She is trying to stop Richtofen from reaching the moon. While inside the Pentagon, we learn of a meeting that is scheduled to take place in a matter of days. This meeting would be between the President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, and Fidel Castro. We craft a device that amplifies the power of the local teleporters inside the Pentagon. This allows the crew to leave the Pentagon in 1963, arriving at a dry lake bed near Area 51. This place is known as Groom Lake, Nevada. This is the starting location of the map Moon. Finally, so close to reaching his goal, Richtofen and the crew use the teleporter at Groom Lake. They arrive at Griffin Station in 2025. The uncalibrated teleporter that Dr. Schuster warned of was never fixed. Because of the significant distance from Groom Lake to the moon, the uncalibrated teleporter sends the crew many years into the future, going from 1963 to 2025. This was the very problem that Dr. Schuster had warned the leaders of the Pentagon about. Now that Richtofen is finally back on the moon, he puts his plan into motion. He turns on the power and locates another relic called the Vril Sphere or Vril Egg, and with some work he inserts it into the MPD. While Richtofen is using the facility's power to charge the Golden Rod from Call of the Dead, Maxis attempts to disrupt Richtofen's scheme by locking Richtofen out of the electronics of Griffin Station. Maxis was able to do this using the powers he gained from the Crazy Place. Because he is in the electronics of Griffin Station, Maxis is able to block Richtofen's plan for a time. Richtofen is able to override the system and locks Maxis out. Richtofen is now able to charge the Golden Rod completely. He fills the MPD with life energy from the zombies and inserts the charged Golden Rod into the MPD. This opens the pyramid and allows Richtofen to finally achieve his goal. Richtofen swaps souls with Samantha, giving him access to the ether and to the zombies. As this happens, the eye color of the zombies switch from the normally yellow color to blue. This signifies a switch of control from Samantha to Richtofen. Poor Samantha is stuck inside Richtofen's body. Richtofen abandons her along with the rest of the crew. They had been nothing more than pawns in Richtofen's game. All seems to be lost when suddenly Maxis uses the electronics of Griffin Station to communicate with Richtofen's former crew. Maxis instructs them to help him take control of the station. In doing this, Maxis pledged that he would minimize the damage that Richtofen would cause to the universe. Once in control of the facility, Maxis enacts his plan to sever Richtofen's connection to the ether. Maxis begins calculations to Earth. He instructs the crew to send him the Vril Sphere using a Gersh device. Maxis was determined to have the last laugh. With the final step of the Easter egg complete, Maxis sends a handful of missiles towards Earth. We are witness to a terrifying sight as the missiles impact Earth, leaving what used to be home as a fractured and broken mess. Maxis had indeed severed Richtofen's connection to the ether, but at a terrible cost. With the Earth now a fractured and broken mess, humanity begins to break down. The people of Earth divide into factions and fight amongst themselves. With Dempsey, Takio, Nikolai, and Samantha stranded on the moon, and the Earth a fractured and broken mess, we end Black Ops 1 Zombies on a shocking cliffhanger, directly leading to the events of Transit and Black Ops 2 Zombies. And that, my friends, is the story of Moon.